Did anyone ever tell you one of these? Grey hair makes you look older. Please dye your hair. Why don't you dye it? It doesn't suit you. You should take better care of yourself. You'll regret it later. You're giving up. You're lazy. It looks unprofessional. Why not embrace your youth? It makes you look frumpy. You'll blend in with the crowd. You look like a grandma. Are you trying to look unattractive? You've let yourself go. That looks terrible on you. No one wants to see that. It's a sign you've given up on life. I can't believe you think that looks good. You look like 799. I've noticed more and more women are embracing their natural grey hair. And it's a huge trend right now, especially on TikTok, and for good reason, because women are really fed up with the constant coloring and are discovering the beauty and freedom in going naturally grey. And other people are giving them a lot of hate for going natural, which hurts me quite a bit, thinking about what women have to go through on a daily basis and what I might potentially go through when I start turning grey. A process that has already started with a few of grey hair in the front. I have empathy for you if you've ever heard any of those comments. And I want to make one thing crystal clear. I am Team Grey. And nasty comments will not have a place on this channel. I want this to be a safe space for women who want to go naturally grey. And the reason for that is probably because I was born and raised in Asia, where still to this day older people are respected heavily. Grey hair has always been a symbol of wisdom. For me. Wisdom, a lot of experience. So I honor that, I respect that. And older people are way too precious for me to discard them in the way that I observe in the Western world. And even though I moved to Germany when I was a kid, I still could not adopt the same mindset. And it has become a very strong part of my profession and of this channel. But did you know that going grey actually changes your color type significantly? So in this video, I want to talk about 4 major topics. The 9 reasons why you turn grey, what happens when you turn grey, the types of grey hair, and the 5 aspects that will change your color type when you turn grey. Now you might believe that grey hair makes you old. Certain colors are off limits now, that you have to match your hair color exactly. That grey hair requires a complete wardrobe overhaul, that warm colors are no longer flattering, that grey hair now limits your personal style, that all shades of grey are the same, that you can't wear bright colors after going grey, and that you need to dress more conservatively. And all these beliefs can really be distilled into one, that grey hair makes you look old, so you have to adjust. And in this video, I want to show you how you can look radiant even with grey hair. Research indicates that people nowadays start going grey earlier compared to 50 years ago, with factors like stress, pollution, and lifestyle playing significant roles. Although genetics largely determine the age at which someone's hair will turn grey, studies suggest that increased stress and lifestyle changes can accelerate the process. For example, stress-related chemical reactions in the body can impact pigment cells responsible for hair color. A study from Columbia University in 2021 showed that hair color could revert from grey to its original color when stress was reduced, highlighting a close link between stress levels and graying. Another contributing factor may be environmental pollutants and diet changes. Certain toxins and an increasingly high-paced lifestyle may affect cellular health, potentially leading to earlier pigment loss in hair. Some researchers have found that grey hair is emerging about 5 years earlier on average than in the past, attributing this to both lifestyle shifts and environmental changes. Overall, while genetic factors remain the primary driver of graying, increased stress, environmental factors, and possibly even lifestyle habits are thought to contribute to earlier graying. And I can confirm all of this based on my personal experience with my own body and my hair, but also my family, my extended family, but also the clients that I've served so far. For example, that stress is such a huge factor that contributes to graying hair or graying prematurely. My grandpa, for example, who's over 90 now, has still all his hair and just a few grey hair. While my dad, who's in his 60s, has already turned white and very quickly. There was almost no transition time. And my sister, who is just 1 year older than me, and we are in our 40s now, has turned grey almost completely, while I have only a few grey hair. Now, there are a few reasons, and stress is just one of them, While my grandpa had to go through World War II, obviously, and the short amount of time, the couple of years that he had to endure tremendous and unbelievable amounts of stress. Of the entire span of his life, he had less stress than my dad. And I will come to the specific reasons why you also might turn gray besides stress just in a second. And I personally also experienced a time when I had my first kid. I started to see a lot more gray hair in the front and on the sides. And when I noticed this, I realized that it was stress related, because that's what my mom always told me. And I changed a couple of things in my life and in my diet specifically that made a major change that it could reduce the gray hair. And all of a sudden I had a much richer hair color than ever before. The natural process of graying usually starts in the 30s for Caucasians and a little bit later for Asians and Africans or Latin Americans, often due to genetic factors. 100 years ago, many people's lifespans were shorter, around 48 years for women, so noticeable gray hair was less prevalent simply because fewer people lived that long enough to experience significant graying. Today, life expectancy has extended, making gray hair more common, with around 40% of people showing some graying by the age of 40. The shift in public acceptance of graying has been marked in recent decades, as women in particular have become more comfortable embracing their gray hair, particularly as a statement against the societal expectation and pressure to appear youthful, a change that aligns with shifting beauty standards. The prevalence of hair coloring, which became popular in the mid-20th century, also created a culture where concealing gray hair and age in general was normalized. Now, younger generations, influenced by older family members and public figures who confidently go gray, are more open to doing the same, sparking a movement towards acceptance and even celebration of gray hair as a natural part of aging. Let's have a look at the 9 reasons why you turn gray. The first one is melanin loss, a very obvious one. The gray hair occurs when melanocytes, the cells that produce the melanin in your hair, which gives your hair the color, gradually stop working. As melanin production decreases, hair grows in without pigment, appearing gray, silver, or white. The second one is genetics. The timing of when your hair turns gray is largely genetic. If your parents or grandparents went gray early, chances are you might too. However, external factors, especially stress and certain lifestyle factors, will accelerate the process. There's heavy evidence suggesting that chronic stress particularly can accelerate the graying process. Stress hormones are disrupting the melanocytes, leading to premature gray hair. Now, there are 2 types of stress, positive and negative. And there are also 3 types of negative stress, physical, mental, and emotional. If you are experiencing all of those on a daily basis, they can turn into chronic stress, which will heavily influence how and when you turn gray. And here's a reason that nobody really knows about. It is hydrogen peroxide buildup. Gray hair can be caused by the buildup of hydrogen peroxide in your hair follicles. Your body naturally produces hydrogen peroxide, and as we age, enzymes that break it down in catalyze decrease. This leads to a bleaching effect inside the hair follicle, causing hair to grow out gray and white. Another reason can be vitamin deficiencies, particularly B12, which can contribute to premature graying. This is specifically prevalent for people who are vegetarians and vegans, who don't know how to substitute meat with other foods that contain B12. Another reason is smoking. Studies show that smokers are more likely to experience premature graying compared to non-smokers. Now, my sister and my dad are smokers. I'm a non-smoker. Both have been graying much faster and much earlier than I do. So this is a major factor that contributes to the overall health of your body. And the hair is one part of your body that easily can show you when your body lacks nutrients or is leaning towards the unhealthy side. You can easily see the health level of your body on your hair, skin, nails, teeth. Another reason is also hormonal changes. Pregnancy, menopause, and other hormonal shifts can trigger changes in hair color. For example, the stress level that you go through during your pregnancy, but also during childbirth, can determine whether you will experience any type of gray hair appearing after giving birth, like it was for me, for example. There was a tremendous amount of stress. The same goes for menopause, as you will experience certain symptoms determined by lifestyle and diet mainly, but also genetics. You will have a certain amount of stress level. And depending on how high that is, you will experience premature graying or faster graying. Another reason is also autoimmune disorders like vitiligo or alopecia areata that can lead to premature gray hair. Thyroid disorder that can also cause early graying or changes in your hair texture. Let's have a look at what happens when you turn gray. The first one is obviously the loss of pigment that you will notice right away when you look in the mirror. You will lose the melanin in your hair, which gives your hair the natural color. And as the melanin production decreases, your hair grows in gray, silver, or white. Now, you will also experience texture changes. Gray hair tends to be drier, coarser, and more prone to frizz due to the reduction in oil production by the scalp. This can make it feel rougher and harder to manage compared to pigmented hair. You will also experience increased UV sensitivity. The gray hair lacks the natural protection against UV rays, making it more vulnerable to sun damage. This can cause hair to become more brittle or develop a yellowish tint over time. You will also experience reduced elasticity. Gray hair is often less flexible and more prone to breakage, as the loss of pigment can affect the hair shaft's strength. You will also experience changes in hair growth. While graying itself doesn't affect the rate of hair growth, hormonal or aging factors often accompany gray hair. So this leads to thinning or slower growth for some women. You will also feel like you have to adjust your styling now based on these factors, as well as your hair care routine, using more moisturizing products and toners to combat dullness or yellowing in the gray hair. While gray hair has become more socially accepted or even trendy nowadays, the change can still affect how others perceive you. Many women experience an initial period of adjustment before fully embracing their new look. And the phase where you start turning gray is the hardest for women, in my observation. And all these factors lead to the change in your color type and your color palette. As your hair turns gray, the colors that once complemented your natural hair tone and overall color type may no longer have the same effect. Your overall complexion and color type shifts, often requiring adjustments to your wardrobe, but also makeup choices. But before I go into the 5 aspects that change your color type when you turn gray, let's talk about the types of gray hair. You might have this type of chart in your mind from white all the way to dark gray, but the reality is this, that there are hundreds of different hair colors and they are all based on specific root skin colors. And because there are so many of them, I've created a hair color chart that I have heavily updated just recently that you can get at the link in the description in my store. Your hair color will be based on your root skin color or on the harmonic to your root skin color. Let's imagine you had this brown hair color, BSO10. How your hair will slowly gray, you can also see in this chart. It will lose more melanin over time, and so you will gradually move into an MSO4, into the medium chroma spectrum. Then it will lose even more melanin and you will move into MSO10. Then you will slowly move into SSO4, which is already a soft chroma hair color. And then you will lose even more melanin and you will move into SSO10. As the melanin decreases even more, you will most likely turn into an SSO16. And when melanin is completely stripped from your hair, no melanin is produced in your hair follicles, you will most likely turn into a SSO21 and lighter, depending on the factors that I've just mentioned. The greatest change to your color type will appear when your hair turns gray completely, when you have gone through the transition type and you have arrived at the soft chroma gray color spectrum. That is when I would recommend to update your wardrobe palette. You may think all gray is the same, but there's a big difference whether your hair was naturally blonde or whether it was brown or black. Now, since blonde hair has less pigment to begin with, when melanin production decreases, it usually transitions more directly to white. It has less of a transition time. This is why people with naturally lighter hair often appear to have white hair when they go gray. So for someone who has blonde hair, she will usually almost directly transition into a white hair color, having a very short period where she will be transitioning from light gray to white. While compared to someone who has black or dark brown hair, the initial loss of pigment tends to result in a dark gray or salt and pepper appearance for a longer period of time, because there's still more residual pigment in the hair strands, and it takes time to transition to fully white hair. Here you can see a beautiful example. So when she's younger, having black hair, she will have a much longer transition time going towards white, as you can see here, than someone who has blonde hair. And obviously this is not the same person, but I tried to find very similar color types that would most probably turn out this way. And here you can see an example for an Asian color type. For Latin American color types, it works the same. If you have black hair, you will not only have the longest transition type, but also the largest change to your color type. Because going from black all the way to white is a very harsh change, a very drastic change. And as you can see in the back, she still has darker hair. And as it is very typical for women to experience white hair first in the front or on the sides. So let's talk about the 5 aspects how your color type actually changes when you turn gray. The first aspect is your root hair color. Now there's a root skin color that dictates overall your color type, and there's also a root hair color. This woman had a brown hair color when she was younger, which you can see slightly in the back still. And this is based on a specific root hair color, the orange family. But when she turns gray and white, which you can see on the sides very prevalently already, you could argue that white cannot be traced back to any kind of color because it is the lack of color. So you could argue that the root hair color changes, and this has consequences for your color type and your wardrobe colors. The second aspect that will change when you turn gray is your chroma. For a Caucasian example who has blonde hair and medium chroma, she will most probably gravitate into the soft chroma once she gets older and turns gray. And when I compare that with my hair color chart to first find her natural hair color, which will be in MC07, which is in the medium chroma spectrum, specifically for her hair now. When she gets older, her hair drops in chroma, as you can see. It drops into the soft chroma spectrum, becoming an SCO13. For someone who has a darker complexion and has a semi-bright chroma type overall, she will most probably move into the medium chroma overall as a color type. But when we look at the hair specifically, she has bright chroma hair. Black or very dark brown, BR06, which you can see in the bright spectrum. But when she gets older, her hair chroma specifically drops into the soft chroma spectrum, being an SRO13. And if you feel confused about the chroma aspects, there is your overall chroma type, right? That is determined by your hair, eyes, and skin. If the lady had a semi-bright chroma type in general, this does not mean that her hair, eyes, and skin are all semi-bright. Your overall chroma type is the collection of all 3, and your hair can be bright, as in her example, but her skin might be medium or soft, her eyes might be medium or soft, which drops her chroma into the semi-bright chroma type, even though her hair is a bright chroma type. Something, for example, that I don't see seasonal color analysts doing, they are oftentimes determining your chroma type by the brightness of your hair. And they are oftentimes mistaking skin tone, certain skin tone that is originally semi-bright as bright. Now here's an example for someone who is in the Asian or Latin American region who has black hair. Her overall chroma type is bright when she's young, and she will most probably shift into the medium to soft chroma as a color type. But when I analyze her hair specifically, I can find her hair in the bright chroma spectrum, BG06, being a very dark brown or black, you could say, within the root skin color golden orange. When she gets older, she will remain in the same root skin color family, golden orange, but her hair chroma will drop. As you can see, it becomes a SGO19, which is down here. From here all the way to down here. And this is the final stage. All the dark gray hair will turn white, and then she's done, so to speak, with this whole graying process. And once that happens, once all her hair is white and it is not traceable back anymore to any type of root skin color, then her color type will entirely change. The third aspect that will change your color type is your depth. And I've taken the same examples here again. She has light depth when she's young because all her features are light. Light hair, light skin, light eyes. And when she gets older and she turns gray, the depth remains light. There's nothing lighter than light. It is a little bit lighter because of the hair now, but the contrast between those two is really the smallest that you can detect out of all the color types. Now, when I analyze her hair color specifically, it is an MC07, which is here in the medium chroma spectrum, and it is still a light depth hair color. When she turns gray, the depth of her color decreases, right? It becomes even lighter. With this example, the depth obviously when she's younger is very deep. So she's a deep depth type in general, but also her hair is deep depth. But when she gets older, she gravitates more into the medium depth now. It decreases. But when she gets older, SRO13 is much lighter. It is a medium depth gravitating to the light spectrum. And for someone who has black hair, has also deep depth overall as a color type, but also the hair has deep depth. And she will gravitate towards medium depth as an overall color type. And here's where you need to be careful if you have these features. Your hair has deep depth, as you can see here, bright and deep. But when your hair turns gray, you have light depth. The fourth aspect that will change your color type is contrast. Let's take this example again for a Caucasian type who has blonde hair. She has low contrast here as an overall color type. And when she gets older and her hair turns gray, you can see that the contrast remains low. The contrast really changes just a little bit. In your contrast, it's important to know when you are combining colors. Let's say she wanted to wear a beautiful light beige with a beautiful blue color. That would work beautifully when she is young, but if I try to put on the same colors when she turned gray, it does not work the same way. It is not increasing and enhancing the radiance that she has, but it is decreasing it because it is the wrong contrast. Now with this example, she has a medium contrast here because her hair color is very dark, but also her skin is fairly dark, which creates a medium contrast for her. But when she gets older and her hair color drops in depth, the contrast tends to be low because her skin tone only decreases just a little bit when she gets older. Now, when I create an optimal color combination for her when she's young, a beautiful dark brown, it could also be a black in her case, with an emerald green, you could see how these colors would enhance her color type beautifully. But if I try to add the same colors to her when she is older and she turned gray, they don't work the same way. They are not enhancing the radiance that she still possesses. And for someone who has black hair, most predominantly in Asian regions and in Latin America, you will see color types like these. You will have a semi-high contrast. At least this is the case for her. Now, you might be a high contrast type if your skin tone is even lighter than hers. Then most probably when she gets older and turns gray, her contrast will drop into the medium contrast now. The reason for why she is a medium contrast and not a low contrast is her eye color, because that remains still dark. So her overall contrast is shown here. And when I apply optimal color combinations for her when she's young, a beautiful dark brown in the right hue, chroma and depth, in combination with a green color that is also aligned with her true color type, it enhances her color type. She looks radiant. It makes her more beautiful. But when I apply the same colors, you might feel it looks still flattering, but it is not enhancing the features that she has now. And the fifth aspect that will change your color type when you turn gray is visual weight. With this example again, the visual weight of the darkest color that she has, decoded by the black and white picture, is that the majority of darkest colors is at the bottom, right? And it goes up. The lightest features that she has in terms of weight or quantity is at the top. So the heaviest features, the darkest features that she possesses at least, are dominant. Compared to that, when she turns gray, the visual weight flips. Now, the largest quantity or visual weight is within the lightest color spectrum. And the darkest ones that are not even as dark as before are at the top. And this changes a lot. And here is again the color combination that I've shown you before, that it would be beautiful for her color type when she's young. Because of the 5 aspects that are now changing for her, especially the visual weight, she needs a different color combination that would now enhance the coloring that she now possesses, and that would enhance the radiance that she has. And thus I have to tune the color combination to her color type, which would be this. Much softer, much lighter. And while the blue color can remain because her blue eyes don't necessarily change dramatically, her hair color changed. So the type of beige colors that she can wear will be different. And this lighter color I would not even consider a beige, but a type of gray. And here you can see the comparison of how the contrast really changes. At the top you can see the contrast level of the first color combination. Contrast compares the depth of the color, not the chroma. So the depth of the lighter color is around here, and the depth of this blue is around here. So it is a fairly large contrast level. While with this color combination, I have to decrease the contrast because her contrast decreases when she turns gray. As you can see here, this gray is around here, the depth of this gray or color, and the depth of this blue is around here at this level. So it decreases. And this is crucially important. And here you can see a before and after. This is how she would look before when I tried just to dress her the same as she did when she was young. And the blue still works. She could definitely also wear these dark blue colors, but the beige doesn't work anymore. While when I tune the blue and the beige or gray, it looks much more flattering. You see her now more. Let's have a look at this example. The quantity of the dark colors that I can observe in her color type are the dominant ones, while the lighter ones are at the top. But when she gets older, it flips. Visual weight, meaning the quantity of the color depth that I can observe overall in her color type, is on the lighter side. Darker features like her eyes, for example, are at the top. And this means for a color combination that, again, I have to adjust the contrast. This is when she is young. She can wear these colors when she's young, but I have to adjust and tune them when she turns gray. I'm tuning both colors now, the brown and the emerald green, and they are much softer now. And now you can see her, now you can appreciate her beauty. And here is a comparison between the contrast levels. The first one doesn't have a large contrast level now because she was in the medium to low contrast level when she is young. So the darker color is here and the emerald green color is around here in terms of depth. So the contrast is not large. But when she gets older, the contrast level increases, in her case at least. So the darker brown is now here. It is lighter than before, but this emerald green needs to be much lighter for her case. So the contrast level increases now for her. And here you can see a before and after. While it doesn't look awful if she still continues to wear her old colors, so to speak, that she was wearing when she was young, it is better to adjust the colors so that they don't stand in the way, so that you don't disappear behind them, because they make her disappear. They are way too bright in chroma. They are too dark in depth. They are overpowering her. So softening up the colors when you turn gray is a great decision if your color type dictates it. It is not always the case. And for this example, it is very similar. When she is young, the visual weight, meaning the quantity of the color depth that I can observe in her color type, is mainly in the deep color space, while the lighter colors are at the top. When she gets older, it flips. The visual weight is now with the lighter colors, while the darker colors are at the top. They don't present such a visual weight. When she's young, she can wear this color combination very beautifully. Because of the visual weight and all the other aspects that I've shown you, I have to adjust the colors. And now the color combination looks very different, as you can see here. And this might be a very surprising result for you, because I went darker with the green, but lighter with the brown. Or I turned it into a gray. Let's see why. The first example is a very wide contrast. Because she had a semi-high contrast overall, she can wear pretty dark colors when she's young and pretty light colors. Not all the way light, but fairly light. So it is a very large contrast in terms of depth. But when she gets older, her contrast drops, right? it reduces. So she has to wear colors that are still saturated because of her eye color, but the contrast now should not be too large. For example, if I chose a white, which she can wear definitely, it would be too large of a contrast. And here you can see a before and after. If I just give her the same colors compared to when she was young, it doesn't look awful, but it is kind of creating a barrier. It is overpowering her, and you see the colors first before you see her. But with the second color combination, because it is picking up on the colors that she has in her hair, it is creating a symbiosis between the colors and her. And the dark green is now emphasizing her eye color more, which is an important feature in her face that drives radiance. To summarize, you will have 5 aspects that will change in your color type when you turn gray. Your root hair color, your chroma, depth, contrast, and visual weight. And you need to find colors that complement your skin tone, hair and eyes in hue, chroma, depth, and contrast, but also in visual weight when you are combining colors, for example. And those aspects and results will be highly individual when it comes to color for your wardrobe and your makeup, which is why you can book your custom premium color palette for wardrobe, either 3, 12, or 48 colors at the link in the description if you want precise results. And I will not only deliver your neutrals and colors, but also color combinations, which are the most crucial aspect when you turn gray. And if you have any questions about the video, please leave them in the comments. If you love this video, leave a like and leave a comment. Feel free to share this video with anyone who might benefit from this information. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to elevate your style and health this year, and I recommend watching this video next.